So I'd also like to express the full support of Solidarity and the Socialist Party with the nurses' strike. The Solidarity PBP amendment is extremely clear that this House supports the pay claims of these staff as the best immediate step we can take to deal with the general crisis in our public hospitals, because this is about pay equality and parity for an extremely underpaid group of workers. In our opinion, it's about all those workers who have experienced stagnating wages, while housing costs in particular are completely out of control, and the need for wage rises to keep match with that. But it's also part of a struggle for a decent, properly funded public health service, which is a one-tier national health service, as opposed to the chronically underfunded, two-tier, drive towards privatisation health service, for which nurses, together with patients, are on the front line in terms of suffering the brunt of, with chronic stress, burnout, sickness and so on. There's a deep irony here in that Fine Gael obviously loves the free market, but it refuses to recognise the market when labour market conditions here dictate that nurses need a massive pay rise. It's a global labour market with a 1 million nurse shortage on a world basis. It's the reason that nurses' pay is significantly higher in other countries. It's the reason that agency pay is 20% higher here. And we have a crisis in terms of pay and a crisis in terms of understaffing because of an absence of the government willing to fund it, reflected, for example, in the shocking figures in terms of the ratio of births to midwives, which is significantly under the internationally recognised standard. I would echo the point that there is huge public support for the nurses, as I'm sure they are aware. We did a stall in Tala on Saturday and there was a queue of people to sign a petition in support of the nurses. If a public demonstration was held, for example, I think there would be a huge turnout to support the nurses, to support the idea of a properly funded public health service, and it would add extra pressure on the government. I would also say that there was widespread dismay and disgust at the comments of Paul Bell of SIPTU, encouraging effectively SIPTU nurses to pass the pickets. Of course, they should do no such thing. They should refuse to undermine their colleagues' struggle and instead should ballot and join the struggle alongside the INMO and the PNA. Lots of examples have been given of where the money is. Money is many, many places, and we could be here all day saying how the nurses absolutely could be paid. I'll just add one more, something that didn't get a lot of coverage before Christmas. But the junior Anglo bondholders, those who were meant to be burnt, those who were meant to be not paid, but those who refused to take any sort of haircut, well, they got paid. They got paid €270 million. And so the government could find the money to pay bondholders who were supposed to be burnt, but it says it can't find the money to pay the nurses. That tells us everything we need to know about what type of government we have and who they represent.